Hello! Welcome to episode 1 of my Let's Play series for Airships, Conquer the Skies. Airships is a terrific strategy game that blends all three layers of 4X gaming, strategic, operational, and tactical, into one awesome package. I'm recording this after playing this episode. Embarrassingly, I totally forgot to plug in my USB mic before recording the episode, so this isn't live audio. But I can give some post game or post episode commentary as I record this and sort of re-record this as we go. Going forward, we'll definitely have live commentary as I sort of record the episodes. If you like this content, please hit the like button, comment, or subscribe. And if you're a subscriber and would like a ship named after you during this Let's Play, leave a comment below, and I'll be happy to name a ship after you. So with that said, let's begin. I had decided to name our faction Legion of Boom, and it was either going to be Clan Boomer or Legion of Boom, and I just decided I'll go with Legion of Boom. If you prefer Clan Boomer, let me know down in the comments below. So here we just start with a tier 0 text, normal research speed, huge map with monsters omnipresent, and with a normal difficulty. Those were the settings that I decided to go with, and I think those are better settings for sure, or at least those are the settings I think I like to play with at this point. So upon opening the game, I could see very early on that we were on the lower corner of the map, lower sort of southwest corner of the map, and that's a good place to be in terms of for this Let's Play. I think our early game expansion would be to our to sort of to the southeast, and that would probably be our first expansion. When I looked at YS, I noticed almost immediately that YS didn't have any ships. There are no ships in their capital city. I looked early also on as to what monsters were nearby. The aerial jellies I've never actually faced, so that's going to be interesting. The turtle doves are pretty easy. As we're the Legion of Boom, I decided to choose explosives, bombs as our first research priority. So after that, we looked at YS, and this is where I sort of noticed, oh wait, they don't have any ships. And I decided to also send a spy there to see what defenses they had. We noticed the bandits, and I noticed that if you've got bandits, are pretty easy to take on, so that will be one of the first priorities for us to take. And in this episode, I look through all of the diplomacy to see, and one of the first things I do on the first parts of the campaign is to see if there are any factions that will will offer us tribute in exchange for a defensive pact or a non-aggression pact. And so I looked early on and just to see what options there were available to us. So I went through each one and I looked at Dagger Guild, which was willing to give us a defensive pact, and almost enough to get us a tribute. I mean, we were just -2 short, and I looked at if we gave 200 whether they would give us tribute, but I decided, I think at the end of the day, not to go with the defensive pact at Dagger Guild, at least not until after we got a little stronger. Here we're just checking out the map to see where Dagger Guild's located. They're pretty far away. They're in the upper northern east corner of the map almost. decided to check out and see if there's anything we could do, maybe to get for the defensive pact. And I was like, oh, maybe we can get a village. And we were not. It wasn't. There was no village that we could get for a defensive pact. So I checked this out just to see what we could do, and decided that we weren't strong enough to really get any sort of defensive pact, or actually to get tribute for defensive pact. And here I am just going through each of the other factions to see if they might offer us tribute for a defensive pact or non-aggression pact. Usually it only happens when the pact is weaker than us, or not pact, or the other faction is weaker than us. But occasionally you can get something with a similar strength faction. Here we weren't really able to do that. We looked at the only other faction who would offer us a defensive pact for tribute was YS, and YS of course is right next to us and definitely weaker than us. Here I looked to see what we could get from YS for a defensive pact, and none of those villages looked appealing to me at the time. We looked and looked at the other factions, but really there were none that were willing to offer us tribute for a defensive pact. And what that really means is that we're one of the weaker factions on the map, which is a function of our starting ship. And our starting ship is not very strong, but I actually don't mind this particular starting ship, and we're going to see it shortly. But I think it can be easily refitted to something more useful. It's a ship that has muskets and basically has a few muskets. That's really all it's got. And I think, but that being said, I think it's easily refittable to something useful, and that's something that we'll tackle in a future episode for sure. So here I'm thinking to myself, what options are there to refit this opening ship, the Pale Mare? And I can tell immediately we have 3 muskets, we've got some water, we got ammo, living quarters, and a cockpit, and just some suspendium tanks. And I think that's something we can work with. So that's something we're going to work on later on for sure, maybe in episode 2 or 3. And here I think about, okay, what ships should we build? And for those of you who watched my top 5 tips guide video, this ship will be very familiar to you. The Grenadier class bomber Mark 1. This ship is cheap. It's got a cost of $589, maintenance of only $9. The service ceiling is 287 meters, and it's got a reasonable speed of a very good speed of actually 90 kilometers per hour. Here, we were like, okay, well, what should I name this ship? And I decided to name it the Boomer. If you subscribe to our channel, or subscribe to my channel, and comment below on that you'd like a ship either named after you, or if you have a preference for the name, I will try to name the ship according to your preference, or name a future ship according to your preferences, so long as it is not the name is not offensive in any way. Here, so I've built my first ship, or at least put the first ship in the build queue. I decided to build another one because I think we're going to need at least 2 Grenadiers to start. And this one I named the Rooster. And we just start with that. So we've got the Boomer and the Rooster coming up, and those are temporary names. So hopefully we'll have better names going forward. I'm not the most creative guy, so I'm hoping for a little. Hoping that you guys would give me a little bit of help. Here I go check out what's north of us. So Rodino would be willing to give us a trade treaty. They're right above us, and here I consider, okay, well, do we want this trade treaty? they have coffee, which gives them 10% research and 10% income from trade treaties. So they definitely would benefit more from a trade treaty than we would. And here I think about it, but the truth is, a trade treaty is probably not what I would want to do, given that they're right next to us. I think actually you can only get trade treaties to factions that have sort of are either right next to you or have another trading lane to you. And so here I decided I think I'm going to pass on the trade treaty just because they might be an early candidate for conquest. And so we sent out a delegation to Dagger Guild, and this is just me noticing that the delegation came back with a positive result, which is good for us. Definitely good. Here is when I start to think, okay, well, we've got our Grenadier coming. Take a quick look at our empire just to see what our income looks like and our maintenance looks like. So now that our SPY and YS has been established, I take a quick look to see what they have in the city. And they do have a base that looks like it has a lot of muskets. It's made out of stone mostly. But I think to myself, I think we can take this. I think we can. And I look and I think, okay, I can send the Pale Mare, or not the Pale Mare, the Boomer. The Pale Mare is something we're definitely going to refit in a future episode. And I'm thinking, well, maybe we send the Pale Mare up to take out the Turtle Doves. That is a task that it can probably handle. Although, the Turtle Doves aren't exactly they're easy, but the Pale Mare is a pretty bad ship with only 3 muskets, and so I don't know that it can actually take those Turtle Doves. But the Boomer, however, I think to myself, I think we can take the capital of YS. And so I'm thinking we have got the Rooster on the way. If the Boomer can't take YS's capital, we can send the Boomer after it, or the Rooster after it. And so here I decide, well, let's see if the Boomer can take YS's capital. So I think about it, and it's very tempting here because they're more or less undefended, and I think we can take YS's faction very early, and so I think it's worth it. And so I take a quick look at the city again. I take a look at the defense one more time, and I think to myself, yeah, I think we can take this. So I click on the Boomer, I click send, but then I notice, oh, if we declare YS, we'd have to go to war against Altanzal because YS has a defensive pact with Altanzal. And I take a quick look at Altanzal, and I'm like, I don't know what ship is there at Altanzal's capital. So I'm a little bit blind there. So I think about it, and this is one of the great things about the new diplomacy update is you really have to consider whether or not you want to declare war against factions that have a defensive pact with others. So, and now instead of going one-on-one, I'd have to go one-on-two. I'd have a war on 2 fronts, essentially Altanzal and YS. But that being said, YS it's a really, really attractive target, and they're not defended, so I decided it's worth it. Let's do it. Let's declare war and go to war against Altanzal. At the same time, I'm like, let's build another Grenadier, and this one we name the Revenge. I think it's the Revenge. Yes, the Revenge. And so we click OK, and so now we've got another Grenadier coming, and we're sending the Boomer out to attack YS's capital. Now, attacking YS's capital means that after taking it, YS has no means of building any other warships, so they are effectively done. And so here, the boomer has arrived at YS's capital, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, okay, let's start the fight, and let's move the boomer immediately above YS's defenses. And I take a quick look at YS's defenses, and I notice I don't think they have any guns on the backside, or at least maybe they don't have any guns right on top. So I put all the boomer right on top of the base, because I don't see them having any guns sort of on top. And there we go. There we have it. They surrender, and victory is ours. And that was totally worth it in terms of the risk. We took out YS's capital. They are officially done, more or less. And now we just have to send ships to take over the other towns. And I opt for gentle takeover because I'm a nice guy. After conquering, I want to appease people and have them gently join our empire, or gently join the Legion of Boom. Of course, here the AI, the YS would accept a truce offer because right now they have no way of building ships, so they're pretty much out of the game. So we've taken one AI out of the game, and here I think to myself, okay, well, what else? What's next? Altensal's got some defenders, so I think we take Barooster and the other town next. And so we can see that so now that YS is taken, our spy is free, and so we're sending our spy to the border town where YS has sent their fleet. In the meantime, I wait for the boomer to resupply, and this is part of the new diplomacy update as well. Now there's a supply system which limits the range of your ships, and you have to wait until your ship is resupplied or fully resupplied to send them somewhere on their task. And so I send the rooster to Ubahan, and I send the boomer over to Barooster. And they're off. And so now that the boomer has arrived in Barooster, you can see I take a quick look at their defenses. Once again, it's a fort that does not have guns on top. And it's funny how the auto resolve is never not very predictable, or not very predictive. But so I usually don't auto resolve anything. And once again, I just send the boomer to the top of the base. Very similar. Similarly, it just is. It will easily surrender because it doesn't have any guns at the top, and basically the boomer could just send bombs below, and they surrender. And again, the Black Citadel is ours, and so this town, Barooster, is now ours, and we're going to gentle take over again, and then we'll play out the Ubahan battle, which the rooster is on its way. And so we play the Ubahan battle, same thing. Again, it's just a fort, and we just decide to send the rooster to the top of the fort. And the fort will basically surrender at that point. Easy peasy. This is probably the easiest conquest that I've seen in any of my campaigns. I haven't played too many campaigns, at least not too many hours into any one. I haven't completed any campaign that I've started so far, so I have not actually fought dragons or aerial jellies or any of the tougher sort of monsters yet, and I'm looking forward to fighting those on screen with you guys, and we're going to see how it goes. But I anticipate a lot of stumbles in this playthrough, Not the least of which the first one, which is not having my USB mic plugged in. Um, that's just I find myself having as many failures as successes in life, and so uh, 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 that's just one of those failures, one of the stumbles. So anyways, here I decide, okay, I'm going to take a look and see, because we can make an ultimatum with Korak for tribute, and so 74% chance for Korak to accept our demand, our ultimatum. We'll either go to war or they give us tribute, and I send that off, and so the ultimatum, they'll reply back shortly. I decide to take a look to see whether we can get truce with Altanzal now that we've defeated YS. Um, and I take a look at it. I decide that, I take a look at what are our next priorities. So the bandits will be a priority. The turtle doves will be a priority. We'll probably want to build more ships at some point, and sort of refit the Pale Mare. This is what I was thinking about, is probably in the next episode. Next episode or in 2 episodes. And so I send the Pale Mare to the Turtle Dove because I think it can take it, but we'll see. We'll see whether or not they're really able to take it. And then I decide, I think we'll probably see if we can get a truce with Altanzal. And we take a look at the Diplomacy tab, and to my surprise, because I actually think they probably would want a truce given that they're weaker than us. But in the meantime, I wait for the Rooster to resupply before sending it over to Rooster and on the border with Altanzal, because Altanzal will probably be our next target. But first, I wanted to see if we can get a truce. And to my surprise, given that they're weaker, they don't want a truce. A negative 246. Man, they really want to just keep the war going. So I was a little surprised by that. I'd hoped that we could get a truce with them and maybe get some tribute. But it looks like our next episode, we're going to make some progress on that war against Altanzal, while also making some progress on the monsters that are around, particularly the bandits and maybe the Turtle Dove. I take a look at Dagger Guild, since they're at war with Altanzal also, and I'm like, well, we can get that defensive pact now, and get tribute. So that's exactly what we do. We demand tribute, and we get a defensive pact. We also receive 100 bucks, which is nice to add some coffers to our treasury, and decide that, yeah, that's good for me. I'll take some tribute for a defensive pact with Dagger Guild, and they're cooperative, so that's good. So I click OK, and this is sort of where I decide to end the episode. If you like this kind